state of Rhode Island, we have these diners called New York System Silver Tops. And these are some of the best diners you will ever eat in. Their food is incredible. They look like a large camper or like a trailer, and the outside's usually all silver. That's the reason why they call them Silver Tops. Hello folks, and welcome to the OceanState Cuisine, where in today's recipe I'm going to be showing you guys my recipe when it comes to making New York System type home fries. These go great with your breakfast in the morning and also lunch and dinner as a side dish. The centers of these are soft and tender. They are absolutely delicious. So let's get started. So for this I'm going to be using 3 large potatoes. These look like to me like an Idaho potato. And of course I washed them first and scrubbed them down a bit. The reason being is because I'm going to be keeping the skin on for today's recipe. The skin has some wonderful flavors, and that's where all the nutrition is inside the skin. Now it's totally up to you if you want to peel the skin off or leave it on. So now next we're going to cut up these potatoes into squares basically. And I cut mine into, I guess you could call it strips, just as we see right here. And now I'm speeding up the film right here, just so this doesn't take too long. And now I'm going to start cutting them crosswise into about chunks about that big right there. Now you may be thinking to yourself, why make a video about home fries? It seems like a very simple thing that everybody knows how to do. You heat up a pan, you throw some butter in it, you cut them up, you throw them in the pan until they're cooked. Well, let me tell you something. I've tried making my own home fries since I was a kid, and they just never really tasted right. Until I started doing them this way, as we're soon going to see. They tasted okay, they just didn't taste as good as the restaurants that I normally ate in or the Silver Tops. But this recipe is really, really close. Almost exact, actually. Okay, now that we've been staring at these cut up onions for about the last 15 minutes, let's get moving on. Now, I got a large onion here, and I cut it in half, and I put the other half in the refrigerator, because I'm only using one half for today's recipe, and then I just cut them up into sections like this. So these do not have to be finely diced, as we're soon going to see why. So now while you're cutting the potato, what you could be doing too is heating up some water in a pot large enough to fit all the potatoes and the onion. But don't add the potatoes or anything to the water as of yet. Bring it up to like a medium boil and you should be good to go. Now, what we have here is some black pepper, some salt, some minced garlic, and some chicken stock. This is a powdered chicken stock. You could also use bullion cubes if you have that. Now, if you watch my other videos, I'm notorious when it comes to seasoning any water that I boil my food in, because it's going to add flavors. So here I added the onion, and I also added about 2 teaspoons of the chicken stock powder. For bullion cubes, if they're large, I'd say maybe about 3. If they're small, maybe 4 to 5. And then I added about the same amount of the minced garlic, about 2 teaspoons, and then the salt and the pepper. You're going to want to then put a lid on it and cook it for about, I'd say about 15 minutes, and then check it with a fork to see how tender they are. Now this I'm going to leave up to you because everybody likes their consistency a little bit different. Depending on how soft you like your potato to be, it could take anywhere from 20 to almost 25 minutes. But I never time mine, I go by using the fork. Because I'm not cooking these on a high temperature, as we see right here. I do want to make a correction before moving on when it came to saying about adding about 5 small bullion cubes. You don't want to add too much because you don't want the potatoes to get too salty. So if you're not too sure, add your bullion cubes and then taste it once they actually dissolve before adding the potatoes. because we are going to be adding more salt to the potatoes once we transfer them into the saute pan. And here's the consistency of mine. They're perfect. That's the way I like them right there. So all that's left to do now is strain out the water by using a colander or a very large type tea strainer. And next we're going to heat up a skillet large enough where all the home fries hit the surface of the pan. And I did this on about medium heat. And we used quite a bit of butter because that's really what one of the secrets is in awesome tasting home fries. Now what I'm going to do next is add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil to this. Just a little bit. This helps it where the butter will not burn or turn brown. And then we're just going to move this around a bit, make sure that that butter melts well. And all that butter is really going to soak into those potatoes. Man, is it good. Now, of course, it's much easier in a restaurant because they have those big, large, flat-top grills. So they don't have to deal with the side of the pan and all that stuff. Now we're going to start adding the potatoes. Now, normally, I show the seasonings and the spices at the start of each video, but today I decided to just show you guys as we go along because there's not a lot involved. But it is crucial that you do use a skillet large enough, like I said earlier, to accommodate all the potatoes where they're all making contact. If there's a few on the top like I have right here, that's fine because we're going to be turning these as they cook. These kind of home fries, the exterior of them isn't really meant to be like crunchy crispy. They're going to have a nice little crisp to them, but not like a deep fried home fry. Now you just seen me add some onion powder to these potatoes. That's the biggest secret. It's the onion powder. I asked one of the guys at their diner that makes awesome home fries, what's the secret? And he said a lot of onion. But I use the onion powder, this here way it coats the potatoes better. Now we're just going to add some salt and some black pepper. The only garlic I used was in the boiling process. These aren't supposed to have a strong garlic flavor. It's the onion that's the star here. But then there's one other spice that we need to add that's really the star of the show also. It gives the home fries that diner type look to them, where they have kind of like a pinkish, reddish type color to them. And that, my friends, is paprika. And we're going to add a pretty good amount. One good thing about paprika, it does have a little bit of a flavor to it, but it's not salty at all. It's mainly as a garnish. But it does add some nice flavors when it comes to like earthy tones. And then just for another garnish, I'm going to use some dried parsley right here. We're just going to sprinkle some dried parsley all over the potatoes because we want it to also look good. Now we're going to start giving them a flip. Mix all those seasonings around. You want to be careful here. You don't want to break up your potatoes and turn them into like mashed potatoes. And putting a few on the stove is always a good thing. I actually used the skillet a little bit too small. Now after boiling your potatoes, they get pretty soft, but doing this now, it's going to make that steam go away. It's going to make that moisture evaporate. So it's going to kind of firm them up a little bit again on the outside. And I cook them for a good amount of time. Even though they've been pre-boiled, I still like to cook them a pretty good amount of time to make sure all that seasoning really gets noticed. Look at the color already from the paprika. Doesn't it look like something in a diner? And then what I'm going to do now is reduce the heat almost down to like a medium low and just let them go. And now about 10 minutes has passed. We're going to give them a flip. And now I'm using a flat spatula. It gets underneath the potatoes a lot easier. So about every 10 minutes, I give it another flip like this. And I would say I probably cooked them, the total in the frying pan right here, for about maybe 20-25 minutes. Now right here, I did add a little more butter because they seem to dry out a bit. I'm still old school where if you use the actual natural ingredient like butter over like margarine, to me, I think it's a lot more healthier because we're not cooking like this every meal, every day. And if you remember the great cook Julia Child, she loved using real butter. And if you ever watch these diner programs on TV, they do not skimp when it comes to seasonings and using butter and fats. That's what makes the food taste good. So again, after about 20 to 25 minutes in the saute pan, this is the final result. I just sprinkled a little more parsley on the top, and now I'm going to show you guys the consistency once I get a fork here. And we're going to see that they're nice and fork tender, but they're also not falling apart. And let me tell you folks, these are some great tasting New York system home fries. And as they would say in the diners back home, order up. So if you guys ever crave these with some nice bacon and eggs, you gotta give this a shot. I think you're really gonna like it. So there we are, folks, and I thank you again for checking out the OceanState Cuisine. Today's recipe was New York System style home fries. Give us a like, sub up for more excellent videos coming your way, as it does help support the channel. And then comment below, because we always love to hear from you. And until the next time, you guys have yourself a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.